I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? I read that verse so many times throughout the years, and I always thought of the mountains here in Colorado. Growing up in Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak loomed large over the city, and it literally was where America the Beautiful was written. So you think of the Purple Mountains majesty. The mountains here in Colorado are beautiful and strong and majestic. And I often read that into this verse. But when the psalmist writes, I lift up my eyes to the mountains, what he's actually referring to when he asks, where does my help come from? He's referring to the gods that so many people thought lived on the mountaintops. In fact, throughout the Bible, you'll hear about places that are called the high places. It's because shrines, places of worship were set up on top of mountains because there was a different mountain, and on each mountain there was thought to be a different god, and you had to offer a sacrifice on top of that mountain of an animal to appease the god so that good things would happen to you. See, when the psalmist writes, I lift my eyes to the mountains, where does my help come from? He's saying that some people look for help from the gods of the mountains, from idols, fake gods. So when the psalmist asks that, he's saying that's where the idols are. But then he answers, for those of us who are people of faith, in verse 2, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He says, you may think that there are gods on the mountains that can help you and protect you and give you security, but they can't. And I think this is an important reminder because we are looking for help right now. I think that's why we have so much fear, because we want help, we want security, we want a foundation. And though we don't go to worship idols, we create idols in our hearts. In fact, that's what John Calvin, the great theologian, said, that our hearts are idol factories, continually churning out more and more idols. And I think what we do is we look to other things for the security that only God can provide. We look to them for help. And we, I think, realize that especially when things like our financial institutions are struggling, when businesses are not operating like usual, like when restaurants are shutting down. We don't even know where we're going to eat, where our food's going to come from. It shifts the way we think of the world. When we thought we'd have security in the stock market or on our investments or in our job, we think, whoa, do I really have that? Or even with our government, we think that they're the high places sometimes, that maybe the administration or maybe the CDC or some other government agencies can protect us. But when a virus strikes, they can't. See, all the things that we didn't even realize that we were looking to have become our security. They've become our gods. And when they're shaken, we get shaken, and that's where fear comes from. So what the psalmist is teaching us in Psalm 121 is that we need to learn to lift our eyes not to the mountains, not to these gods that we make in our hearts, but to the one true God who actually created the mountains. That's what it says. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Now, if you've ever been messing around on your phone and you've been struggling with the technology, maybe your computer, and you say, I can't figure this out, what's going on? Wouldn't it be so nice to have the guy who actually put the phone together, who made the software, who put it together, and you can just say, hey, how does this work? It always helps to have someone who makes it be able to tell you how to work it. That would be the best. It'd be better than any tech guru you could find, because they made the thing. And it's saying that God created even the heavens and the earth, the very mountains, those purple mountain majesties, they all belong to God. He made them. And if he made them, we should look to him for help and security, no one else. The psalmist goes on in verse 3 by saying, he who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. See, God doesn't take any days off. He's always there to watch over us. In verse 5, it says again, the Lord watches over you. And in verse 8, the Lord will watch over your coming and going. See, the point is that no God, no institution, no government agency will watch over us like God will. So we need to learn to lift up our eyes, not to the mountains, not to what we've been looking to for security, but to God and God alone. And I want to challenge you to do that today. The next step on your journey from fear to faith is to that journey to say, I'm going to look to God. These other things are not giving me the security they should, or I thought they would. But God will, because God will never slumber or sleep. He will always watch out for us and over us. So lift up your eyes to the one who always watches over you. I want to challenge you to take the next few minutes, read through Psalm 121, and look up to God. Keep your eyes open when you're praying this time. Look up to God. And I want to encourage you to say, God, I trust to you. I'm looking to you because I know that you are watching over me always. See you tomorrow.